I had nights where I would like break down in tears because I could not figure this shit out. Like the tech was so hard. And I know that it's probably a lot easier now to build no code apps, but at the time it was really, really challenging. And yeah, I had nights when I would just like break down in tears because I couldn't figure this stuff out. Welcome to the Dream Big, Have Adventures podcast, where your big entrepreneurial dreams and your dreams of travel and adventure collide. Hi, I'm your host, Tess. I'm a published author and founder of HerHouse, an app community of solo women travelers who host each other for free, giving us safe, affordable accommodation and a supportive network of women all around the world. Here, we mesh big dreams of building business with your thirst for adventure. Because I'm going to give you a hint. They're actually way more connected than you realize. On here, I dive into building a tech startup as a solo founder and bring women from the HerHouse community onto the show to share what they're building and how we're bringing women together by hosting others in our network. So no matter where you're listening to this, doing the dishes, on the road, or in the airport, if you have big dreams and a thirst for adventure, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Okay, so let's be honest, building a business is really freaking hard. I think that a lot of people, they like fantasize about potentially like having their own business someday, being an entrepreneur. It's a very romantic thing to kind of think about, but I don't think people like really understand kind of like what goes into being a startup founder and everything that goes into that. So I just kind of wanted to peel back the curtain behind what it's really like to build HerHouse, like what it's like for me personally as a mom. I'm also an employee. I have a full-time job at the time of this recording, like what that is like. So yeah, I'm really excited to share like what that's like, because I kind of come to this realization over and over and over again that like no one really understands. No one understands what I'm going through. No one at my job can understand what I'm going through, because I have this like really amazing, intense, like it's so much more than a passion project. It's HerHouse. It's my vision. It is my passion project, but it's my business. And then people in the founder world don't understand what I'm going through, because I also have this like really heavy full-time job in software sales, and like they don't understand all of the pressure that I feel in my day job. And I don't feel like any of my mom friends know what I'm going through, because I feel like I'm like outer space, like I'm in a completely different realm than most people. And my husband doesn't fully know what I'm going through. My parents don't know what I'm going through. And it all goes back to, it's very similar to this moment I had, like while I was actually solo traveling. I talk about it in my book, where I was presented an opportunity to yacht hop onto like different sailing vessels while I was sailing up the east coast of Australia. And I had this opportunity to get onto a new sailing vessel. And I immediately like wanted to ask everyone what I should do. Should I get on this boat with John? And I was just like trying to explain to like Pace at the time, like what I was going through, and to my dad. And I had this realization that I'm like, no one knows what I'm going through. No one can understand what I've done. No one has seen what I've seen. No one has done what I've done. No one has felt what I've felt. No one can make this decision for me. I have to make this decision. And so like, honestly, that moment of like when I was solo traveling, I continue to carry with me like throughout my entrepreneurial journey, because it reminds me that like no one else can really understand what I'm going through. And that's okay. Like they don't have to understand what I'm going through. And it just reminds me that I have to dig deep and, feel into it, pray over it, and be like, what's the next step? I can get advice from other people, but what's the next step? But I'd really love to peel back the curtain more about what it's like. So I would like to first start out what it's been like building HerHouse while holding down a full-time job. So this whole time that I've been building HerHouse, I've had a day job in the midst of it. And like the reason why I chose to do that is because I didn't know how else to do it. Like I think other founders might get funding and then like do they pay themselves with their funding? Like I have no idea. Like I would if you have an idea of how other founders do that, please let me know, because the only way that I could figure out how to do it and not lose my shit every single day is to have stability. Like I needed stability in my life in order to be creative and excited about like this project I was working on. And so I was actually working for a small law firm while I was building the HerHouse app. And I think that like me working at that firm was a really, really important reason why I was able to build the first version or the MVP of HerHouse, because building the MVP to this day was the hardest thing I've ever done. It was harder than writing my book. It was harder than being a mom. Like building that MVP stretched me as a founder and as an entrepreneur. Like I thought about my business in a new way. I understood how it all worked because I created it, and it was so hard. And I think that if I would have had a more intense job at the time, I wouldn't have been able to build HerHouse. Like the job that I have right now, I currently work in software sales right now at the time of this recording. And I have a pretty like heavy quota that I need to meet every single month. And and it's a great job. Like I have no qualms about my job. It's awesome. Like the people I work for is awesome. If I didn't have anything else going on in my life, I would like have absolutely no problem like inside of my current role. But if I would have had the job I have now and I was trying to build HerHouse, I don't think I'd be able to do it. Like, I really don't think so, because my job with my law firm that I was with, that small law firm, it was really easy. I wasn't like challenged like at all in that role. And I think the reason why that was so important was so that I had this project that was stretching me to my limits when I got off of like working for the firm. And I was also working remotely as well. Like I've been remote since 2020. So I only work remote. Like I'll never ever go back to a in-person job. You won't be able to pay me enough to do that. So so I would, log off around like 6 usually. I think I would stop working at 6 at the firm. And then I would usually work on stuff for the app from like 6 to like 8 or 9. And this was before I was a mom too. I wasn't a mom at the time either. So again, like it was just like this perfect little season where I didn't have any kids. I had a day job that was really easy. That was just like paying my bills and making sure that I was good. And I also upfronted all of the costs that I needed to get started in the app and to learn all this stuff like personally. So, I personally funded it all going into it. And so it was a lot. And those nights, like I had nights where I would like break down in tears because I could not figure this shit out. Like the tech was so hard. And I know that it's probably a lot easier now to build no-code apps, but at the time it was really, really challenging. And yeah, I had nights when I would just like break down in tears because I couldn't figure this stuff out. I had a hard time sleeping a lot, especially while I was building the app, because my mind was wired. I was so wired up the whole time I was building the app. I would wake up because it was basically like a big puzzle in my head. Like I continue to think about this like all the time. Like it's like a huge puzzle in my head. And I'm thinking about like how the user comes into the experience, like what do they see? And then what fires into like my email, like what tags, happen in my email, and then how do they get to the payment page, and like what happens with my website, and how do all of these things connect? And so it was like a huge puzzle that I was working on. It was such an invigorating season, like actually building the first version of it myself. It was really, really exciting. And so that was, the first kind of like season of HerHouse was like first building the MVP. And then the second season was like starting to grow the MVP and starting to get some, ladies in the market who were wanting it and stuff like that. But I had so many highs and lows with that process. And now what it's like holding it down with my full-time job, it's like next level intense for me as a founder, building her house and holding down a full-time job. I don't know, I think that some other founders do have full-time jobs, like, in the midst of, like, building their business and stuff, and we just don't talk about this enough. We don't talk about how to balance all of this, and I know that, like, work-life balance sometimes is not that achievable, especially in, like, certain seasons of life, but I do really value balance in my life. And so, it's hard. Not only do I have this full-time, intense software sales job, but then I'm also a mom now on top of it. So I had my son in early, like, spring of 2024. And so I swear, like, from the time I got pregnant, like, it was like, you know, summer of 2023 through honestly the end of 2024 between like being pregnant, having the baby, and postpartum, I feel like I could not do anything for her house. Like I was able to kind of keep it afloat and to help like bring enough memberships in and help get enough people started to just kind of like keep the business afloat. But it's like I really like mentally could not do much. And I know I've seen other women entrepreneurs who are moms and they still just like kill it when they're postpartum or maybe in, dealing with all this. But I was like, I felt like I was worthless when I was like postpartum and, an early and really new mom. Honestly, I wasn't able to start making progress on my business until Miles started sleeping through the night. Once he started sleeping through the night, that's when I finally was, like, able to start making progress. Because what happened is, like, having my son totally shifted my world because, like, before I had him, I would work on the business, like, late into the night, which also probably impacted my sleeping, so that probably, wasn't a good thing, but that's, like, how I did, like, I'm just kind of like a natural night owl, like, I always, like, worked on stuff late at night, but because of my son, it forced me to become an early bird, because basically, like, between 5 and 8 or 9, that's the only time that I could potentially do anything for her house. So it's really forced me to become an early bird, and I've really enjoyed it. So I don't always get up at 5, like, I do my best to get up between, like, 5 and 6, and I still have my quiet time, I still journal and pray every single morning, and then I try to get a little bit of work done for her house, like, in like an hour or 2 before I log in for my software sales job. And there's so many days where I'm like, it frustrates me because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, you know, I just wish that I could just work on her house all the time." And I think that it'll happen at some point. I really do like my software sales job, but I've come to the realization within this year that I can't do this forever. I really can't. I can't like balance all of this on my own like this anymore. And so eventually we'll be able to take that step away from a regular, like a full-time job. Like eventually, I'm not sure when that'll happen, but it will eventually happen. So until that happens, I'm just kind of settling in and doing the most important things, the most value driven things with the limited time that I have. Like, it's made me, like, quite efficient, actually, like, as an entrepreneur. But, as a mom, being a mom has really brought so much weightiness to my life. It's given me so much more vision for my business. And really, like, I do stuff, like, right now, like, I'm recording this podcast, like, while my son is sleeping. You just do it in, like, the pockets of your time, and that's how I've really been able to continue building this while, like, being a mom. And like, my son has been really good for me because, honestly, like, he takes me away from my computer, and we just, like, go sit under the tree together, and we, like, look at rocks, and we ride a bicycle, and we go swimming. Like, we do things that heal my nervous system. Like, it's, like, so good for me to spend time with my son and to spend time with my husband. Like, And I've really made an intention, like, going into November that I really need to stop working at 5. Like, that's really my goal. My daily goal is to stop working at 5 so that I can just be a mom and just make dinner for my family and just enjoy my family, because it's like you don't want to miss that too. Like, you don't want to miss this whole like experience of like having a kid and having a family, like, for the sake of your business. And I've also started like prioritizing my health, because I was also feeling like I was putting my health on the back burner within this year too. Because this year, I'm recording this in like November 2025, we went through the app rebuild like earlier this year. Between the app rebuild, my full-time job, being a mom, I felt like I was on the brink of burnout like multiple times this year. I was having a really hard time. I was not taking good care of my body. I was having like issues with my eyes because I think I was like having so like much screen time because I was like on my computer for literally like 14 hours a day. And so that's when I was like, okay, November, like I want to work out, like I want to prioritize like working out and like around like for between 8 and 9, and then, continue to my regular job throughout the day. And I think that's also been good for me too. My job is not important than my wellness, my health and wellness. My business is not more important than my health and wellness. My family is not more important than my health and wellness. Like, if I'm not okay, I can't do any of this. Like, no one can replace me in her house. No one can replace me in my family. Like my job, they can replace me super easy. So, but it's like, if I'm not okay, like I won't be able to take care of any of this stuff. So I've really been prioritizing myself and my health and my wellness throughout November. And it's been really, really good for me. And, creating some boundaries around working and like trying to balance all of this together. But in the end, like what really keeps me going is the women inside of her house, seeing them connecting the community, making travel plans to visit each other. And I just love connecting with all of them, like on our coffee chats. It's just so much fun. And, I'm seeing new ladies jump into her house and hearing like what they're excited about. Like Jen from Denver said, like, I would love to host and stay with other like-minded women all over the world. I'm an extrovert and I love people and sharing my city with them. Alita from Spain said, I want to be part of a supportive global community where women help each other feel safe, empowered, and inspired while traveling. I hope to gain meaningful connections and give back through encouragement, cultural exchange, and openness. Like, heck yeah, totally a vibe. Like, totally the Her House vibe, right? And Mary in Wyoming, she said, I love to travel, but I'm most always alone and would love to travel with others. Also, I have a house near Yellowstone and would love to house swap. Love it. So, like, it's all worth it. It's all worth it. And I really think that we as entrepreneurs, like, we get frustrated in maybe things not happening fast enough or things not happening as quickly or as you visioned it. But don't allow that to destroy the journey, because entrepreneurship is the ultimate adventure. Like, it is the adventure. Um, like, you don't go on adventures just to get to your final destination, right? Like, you go on adventures for the journey, for the joy and the thrill of it. Like, if you're building any kind of business too, like I remind you to embrace the journey, like the ups, like the mountaintop moments, like when your app gets in the app store or when something like incredible happens in your business. And then when you're like everything's falling apart and it's just like the points that scare you to death, like it's all part of the journey. It all is points that remind us that we're alive and we're here doing something really amazing in the world. And so that's pretty much what I have for today. I hope this kind of gave you like a little backstage view of, what it's like to be building her house like in this current day and age. Like maybe I'll re-record this maybe in a year or two, and we'll probably be in a much different place, and we'll love to look back on this one too. I love you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, keep dreaming big and having adventures. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the Dream Big, Have Adventures podcast. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to like and subscribe. And if you're feeling generous, a review is a really helpful way to help us reach more listeners around the world. And if you're a woman keen for solo adventure but want a real community who you can connect and stay with around the world, come join us in HerHouse. You can download the app right now on Google and Apple, and you can check us out with a 7-day free trial. I can't wait to connect with you personally inside of the HerHouse network. And until next time, keep dreaming big and having adventures. We'll see you out there.